Board of Library Trustees Committee of the Whole for Monday, March 6th, 2023. Roll call, please.
Trustee Burrell? Here. Trustee Bella? Here. Trustee Nettle?
Here.
Trustee Wu? Here. Trustee Samari is absent. Trustee Supplet?
Here. Here. All right, you all please stand for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge of
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for
You all. All right, it looks like we have one public comment here. State your name, please, and what you have to say.
Thank you, everyone.
If you want to, whatever is more comfortable.
My name is Patricia Canexa. I resided in Arlington Heights for 10 years, and I've been user of the library for 10 years. Okay, and of a wide representation of many of the activities such as the library, and I think that probably in my experience of looking into many libraries, 10 years of international experience, and many years in being an advisor of CDC and the government, this is one of the best libraries that I have known in my life. Okay. So I think that because of the evolution and the growth and the expansion has been great. However, I came because of a comment that I did to one of the employees downstairs, and certainly is an enhancement comment, not a negative comment. All my comments regarding the library usually are very positive. Okay. I am a person that has been a donor of many of scientific books, some of them social research, some of them public health research, some of them regarding all the development that we have had around COVID and many other challenges that we have in the city. I became aware that the library, reality I became aware just 2 weeks ago, that the library has the majority of the books based in opinion. I mean that these are stories, are information that is given, even a biography is a very subjective representation of our reality. Yeah. But there is a lack of all this social foundation of science that should serve in reality our community. That means that to get into the opinion, you need to have first the facts and the proven facts, you know. And after that, I can get into the real books that are related to the opinion. I was responded that there is a policy that usually the donations that are given to the library go to the public rather than to be retained by the library, you know. Yes, when you have a book that is $350, you wonder if $350 are going to serve one person, which is going to be the buyer, maybe for $10, you know, or needs to go into 25 or 50 people that are going to provide that value and are going to have access to information that probably is not available everywhere, you know. So how the library can confront this issue of having a growing, very diverse population, very young population that you have in Arlington Heights, and how you can serve them with the next step, which is called science, you know. And it's not only the science of adventure, as there is many books in the library, you know, but the other science in which we look at the foundation of our society and this is the research that is conducted around that society in many aspects. And I am not talking about the specialized science, I'm talking about the basic elements of science that move our opinion and make our opinion better and make our development in civil society better, you know, through these instruments that are called books or tapes or movies, whatever you find in this great place, you know. So that's my comment for today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. You know, just so you know, we're working on our strategic plan right now for the next 3 years. I think some of the conversation that we've had actually might wind up right in what you're talking about. So keep a lookout for what we're going to be doing over the next few months.
I think my strategy is actually because the fact that the library wants to be generous and certainly share everything with the community, but maybe looking into what possible stakeholders in the community, like schools and colleges that will benefit from the selection of these elements and are given away to them, but to be open just to the market. That's all.
No, it's fine, thank you, yeah.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Okay. All right, let's go on to item 1. I need my glasses on, sorry. Kids Grill refresh project update.
Okay, so in your packet, you have a memo regarding the Kid Grove project update. What we have been working on with Andy from Williams Architecture and John Shales from Shales McCown Construction is looking at the market value of all of the construction materials needed to complete this project. So what we're bringing to you tonight is a estimate based on those numbers and or based on what John has found in the industry. So I was going to invite John Shales to the table and Carrie Katera. Carrie is from Williams Architects, and he couldn't be with us tonight. So Carrie is stepping up for him. So thank you. And so in your memo, you will see kind of a breakdown of all of these costs. What we've included in the base cost is the entrance, along with all the other things that we've talked about in respect to this project, with the exception of the hub study rooms and the soffit removal. And then also we do have the option to add tile into the wellness room and the all gender restroom as an alternate at the bottom of that page as well. So I'm going to turn it over to John now to talk a little bit more about the details and what we have here and give his professional opinion.
Yeah, so we've looked at the drawings along with Williams, kind of gone through those, taking those out to the marketplace, gotten real-time pricing back from the field. Prices tend to continue to be rather volatile, higher than everybody likes. Right? This conversation I've had with the library boards for the past year and a half, that things are costing a lot more than they did before. So these are the pricing that we have built in here is real data from the field that we believe to be accurate. I would like to point out too that kind of in the middle of the page, there is an escalation in a design and construction contingency factor. Those are two elements that's the library's money at that point, right? It always will be. But we believe that's good planning. That amounts to about a 15%. I'm going to call that cushion at that point to get through the bidding process and even in the construction if there's any unknowns that come through there. As well. So, and maybe even to double up on what Mike's comments were with those alternates at the bottom, those are alternates that we tend to, that we are intent to bid out at that point. So we'll get real-time pricing on those. And when we come back for award of the project, those can be added in if the budget allow, or simply just not added at that point if the budget doesn't allow, or if you, as the board, just decide not to pursue them. And then maybe a little finer point on the wellness and bathroom, the tile. So those rooms would have tile floors no matter what. And the wet wall would be tile. That alternate is really just for the other 3 walls in those rooms to be tiled as well. So it's not a lack of tile in those rooms. It's just adding more tile above and beyond at that point. So.
One thing I'll point out, just going back to the entrance, there's been a lot of talk about doors and the entrance and all that stuff. We did include the entrance in this base cost, but that could be broken out as an alternate for the bidding process as well. We included the entrance as included in that base because that was kind of the #1 priority of staff coming out of the discussions that we had, and compared to the other alternates that we had here, they would rather see that entrance completed rather than the hub study rooms and the soffit removal. So just to give you some context.
So the hub study rooms I thought we already had hub study rooms.
No, we have
Those ones we are building right off the entrance.
No, these would be for the teen area.
Right.
We were going to block out a couple of spaces in the hub.
In the
to
hub
be,
itself.
Yeah, to actually be.
Oh, okay.
To relieve some of the congestion up here.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, it's busy.
So if I could just cut to the chase here, right there, real quick. The budget is $699,253, and the total is without the alternates on there, $682,418, right? So we are about 17,000 below where our budget is this year. Okay. Okay, I had some other things, but you go first, I cut you off.
No, actually, just kind of piggybacking on that, these costs do not include the grant, the 50,000, that this is just, we're
Just-
keeping that out. And then, but that is, we are able to apply now that we are in 2023, so the likelihood that I mean, you don't want to bank on that, but that's
Yeah, it's already
There.
submitted. We'll
Okay.
know, I think, at the end of April.
April, okay.
For the ADA grant?
Yeah.
It's the beginning of April.
Oh, beginning of April.
So we'll know, so within a month, we should probably know where.
Mhm.
Okay, and then, so I just, what are we doing for drying? Are we doing paper towels or it's no hand dry?
Yeah, I saw that.
I'm just curious, what?
Oh, yeah, there was
Yeah.
quite a bit of discussion about that. We were not gonna do the hand dryers because of the noise, I believe. Trixie, do you want to speak to this? You may have feel-
Is using paper towels, just because. The kids, the loud noise is just, yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, there was a study, I think a young girl did a thing where the auto, it was damaging to you, so I understand that. So paper towels. Okay,
Yeah, and with the sensory room right next door, the wellness room, both of those will have sinks, so we want to make sure there's no loud noises there. Also, in our main restrooms, we have the dryers, and you can hear them in the main
Yeah.
library space, so it is.
makes sense.
As a mom, I don't have a little anymore, but occasionally, the diaper pad or, the changing pad somehow isn't with you. Having a couple paper towels. So that is current on the paper towels.
What's the expense to the friends of the library?
That is, so that's money that we had set aside that they may donate things to us. And when the friends donate things to us, it still counts toward our budget. So if we buy a couple of additional interactive elements or something
I
like
see,
that, that still goes toward our budget,
Yeah.
even though we get reimbursed.
What is, I mean, I know what soffit is in a house, but here, what is it?
Sure. So if you go into Kids World, you know where the mural is?
Oh,
When you walk in. So it's where that, it's around the mural, that
Okay.
large thing that hangs down. We would eliminate all of that, make it just flat,
Okay, okay.
Echo chamber.
yeah, the
Yes.
chamber.
I have a question about the restrooms. I know that we had this conversation before, so I'm not trying to beat a dead horse. But I know that at one point we were concerned about sort of that hallway to the bathrooms and that being a not visible area for shenanigans. How did we again address that? I can't, or did we address, like,
We
just,
didn't really address that here. The restrooms were not part of the scope of this project. We did look at costs of redoing those restrooms, and just redoing those restrooms, correct me if I'm wrong, was around $200,000. That's not even flipping the doors. So moving the doors means we're moving the plumbing. So I don't want to make that estimate. I don't know what that would be, but I'm guessing it would be substantially
Mhm.
more.
So
it
the
was-
bathrooms that we're talking about are in addition to, not adjusting the ones that are there.
Correct. So it would be the all gender restroom, the wellness room that are outside of that. Now, we do have a plan to look at the restrooms up here and redo those. So we were kind of it was on our long range plan to redo restrooms, as we can. So that will probably be part of that future development, but I don't know if we're only flipping the doors or not.
It's in my mind, it's like, well, we're already working on the restrooms, we should just work on the restroom, but I can also see how that can be a separate thing. Okay.
A couple things here. Okay, so as I said, we're 17,000 under, about 17,000 under budget, and we've got about almost $50,000 contingency built into this. Right, so it's 67,000, okay. Maybe I'll see about that there. Anyways. When do we have to, so those thoughts could go into the alternates.
Mhm.
So when do we have to make those decisions?
Well, so once we go out for the public bidding process and come back to you with qualified bids, that would be your next opportunity to see where you're at overall in the budget. Hopefully, we're under budget and you can accept all or some of those alternates then. To use the contingency to pick up one of those I'm just kind of looking at that. So for instance, the tile work comes later in the project. What we would normally recommend is if we can get through demolition, kind of expose the unknowns. That would be a good time after that work is done to maybe reevaluate the contingency. Do we need all 50,000 of it? Or can we, give up half of that and feel comfortable that, there's not gonna be anything unexpected coming forward? So so there's two time frames. One is bidding, and then one kind of that, I don't know, a third of the way through the project after demolition is complete and everything, so we'd be evaluating them as well.
Okay, that makes sense. So when are we going out to bid? As soon as we give you the okay? Or
Yeah.
are we already going?
Well,
You're already
no,
going
no,
to
I'm
bid.
sorry. Yeah, I almost stomped out on Williams at that point. They need to finish up drawings.
Yes, so as soon as we get A-okay to move forward, then we have to look at our drawings, but. I mean, we were pretty far along in our drawings, so we didn't need a lot of time to complete drawings.
We want to make sure this worked out
Yeah,
before we finish the drawings with the entryway and all that stuff, and make sure that the board is on board with moving forward in this fashion.
Because we were looking at completion date October, was that the latest date that we talked about? I
Yeah,
believe?
fall, I think we were talking about.
Fall?
Right?
Okay. So,
yeah, I was like,
What's that?
so. Dealing with reality here, we're in March, we still haven't gotten the drawings done, we still haven't gone out to bid yet, and we get to all the building. Ordering things takes forever and a day at times, in this time frame. So I mean, realistically, do we think we're gonna get there by fall?
I think so. We can't do anything until the Live and Learn grant comes back. And so we're kind of timing this in concert with that. So I'll let you guys speak to availability of stuff. We have already received a lot of the bigger, more custom elements, like those interactive elements. The shelving, we have ordered some and we have on site already. There's 2 elements of the shelving that we still need to purchase, which we could move forward without those. Right now, the project is not contingent upon that, but I'll let you speak to fixtures and, whatever else you guys need.
Yeah, so absolutely, there are still in the industry some things that are exceedingly long times to get. Light fixtures would be one that would be in here. Some of the plumbing elements, some of the pumps and things like that, I think those are kind of back to more of a normal scenario. Believe it or not, doors, frames, and hardware are really hard to get these days. It can take 30 weeks to get through. But with regard to what we're talking about, if we can get out for a bid in even getting things awarded, say in early summertime, that's a great time to be going out for bid. And it's a great time to be not completing work, not competing with the school summertime work at that point, and then maybe starting early fall. That's a great time to get your best pricing at that point, to get work done. So can it be done by the end of the year? I think it can be in the scenario that we're talking about. And you're not going to pay a premium for it. If you said, no, we have to get this work done in the summer, and I know that's always a bad time for a lottery. You don't really want to be doing, but you're going to pay a premium for the work that takes place in the summer. You're avoiding that with the program or something. That's a good thing.
Anything else? Any more questions? All right, good. All right, I appreciate this. It's good to see where we're at, and always like seeing things on the budget, so that's a good start. That's a good start. All right, well, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it. All right. Item 2, the chiller cooling tower replacement project bid results.
All right, so this is another major project we're working on this year. So this is a replacement of the chillers and the cooling towers on in our building. They were originally they were last replaced in '99. So they're 24 years old. They are at end of life. Gary has been working with the engineers on drawings and estimates last year. So we were kind of heading into this year, ready to go out to bid. Gary did get pricing and availability or lead times last year, which are big talk about in here a little bit. We did go out to bid. Bids came back, as you see on the second page. We had $550,000 budgeted for this. Dame Mechanical came back at $549,440, so right there. But I'm going to ask Gary to come to the table with your guest and we'll talk more about this project.
Along with Keith Christian from
Well, as Mike mentioned, it did get pricing on this last year and things have changed like a lot since we made the budget up and when we took this up bid. But on the good side, we did get a bid that was under our budget amount. The problem is it's taking, as John mentioned, with doors and certain things, the lead times are really long on them right now. And, the chiller that we could have gotten in 30 weeks last year is now 36 to 38 weeks. And it was pretty consistent through all the companies that bid this. And the way I look at it, the bids that we received, these are just estimates they're getting from Carrier. They're all getting the chillers from the same place. They're all getting the cooling towers from the same place. Cooling towers, no problem. We'll have them in 14 weeks. Chillers, it's all coming from Carrier. So if one company says it's coming in 20 weeks and the other one says 36, they're coming from the same place. So regardless of what company we go with, that we're pretty much dictated by what Carrier does.
And we have checked with all the other major manufacturers, Trane, Daikin, York, all the other manufacturers are in the same boat. They're all close to 40 weeks.
So this is probably, that's probably the biggest challenge on this project is getting it done, to your point, this year, its availability.
Yeah, I mean, the sentence that, partial sentence that caught me the most was carrying the project into the early 2024. So, and if that happens, obviously happens, we don't have any. Doing with it, but would we then just work that over into the budget for next year then?
Correct. Right. So we would allocate for it next year and then be under budget that same amount this year. So we would show that transition.
Okay.
But we will cross everything.
There's a possibility we'll get things on site this year. It still could happen. I just wanted to be completely upfront and to tell you that there's a possibility that could happen. So, longer lead time.
And the cost keeps going up.
There's price increase April 1st from Carrier. So, things have gone crazy in pricing and availability of products and machinery and equipment.
Virginia.
So forgive me, could you just give a brief explanation of what a chiller and a cooler do?
Well, we've got an engineer.
Yes, so the chillers, it's the air conditioner for the building. So it's doing all of the cooling in the building. And there's 2 chillers in the building and both of them are the same age and the age of them suggests that you should replace them shortly. Yeah. So, and knowing that we have at least a year that we have to make it through one more cooling season on this, I think.
Yeah,
It'll happen, but the time should be allotted to be replaced.
Yeah, I mean, we've been lucky over the years. We've never had a compressor go bad in these things. And I've been told by a number of HVAC contractors that if the compressor goes out on one of these, just change the chiller. It's so expensive with doing that. And our towers, they've been out in the elements for 24 years, so it is time.
So you got a bid amount here of 549,440, but you just said that there's gonna be a price, at least from Carrier, because it's that.
Not included in this.
So that,
If
that's
we
not
were
gonna
to wait,
affect.
correct, we're good, we're solid with this price.
Okay. So what that means is at the next meeting, we have to approve this so you can get the recs out and everything.
Correct.
Okay.
Right, we'll probably start working on a contract and have it ready. If you approve it, we'll have it ready to sign. And I did put in, I hate to put a contingency in when we're right at budget, but Keith and I were talking, there's always something that happens. And we have to be realistic about that. For example, the crane comes, takes the cooling towers up, and then the steel is in bad shape. We couldn't have seen that before. It's just things like that. We're just trying to protect ourselves for something that may go wrong.
Yes, I think just as a board, we just have to realize that there's a good chance we're gonna be slightly over budget, probably in this particular one. Which never like to do, but obviously this is almost time frame. So,
One more question. Is it preferable to install these like not in the summer? Like, is it actually better to do it when you're not using the air conditioning?
Yeah, we would have no air conditioning if we did it during the summer months.
Okay.
And we are actually have a pretty long season. We start these up sometime in April and we run at least till the end of October. So, yeah, definitely off season is when we need to do these. Preferably fall, when we first budgeted this and we got to 30 weeks, we plan on doing this all in October, which would have been perfect. We can still do the cooling towers in October probably, but the chillers probably gonna go into November or December if we get them on site here.
And it more likely than not, it's gonna be a spring project for the chillers, poor thing.
I'm going by what they said in their village.
They say 30 weeks, chiller or a large piece of equipment show up, in that time frame. It's always been pushed a week or 2 weeks up to 3 weeks. And Carrier has been the better of the manufacturers, saying it's gonna come and they only put a week or two. Some of the other manufacturers, I mean, we're still waiting on equipment over a year on some of our other projects. So just doing a project in this environment, we have to accept that, condition. They say 38 weeks, it's likely gonna be long.
Two questions, one probably kind of dumb, but if the prices are increasing in April, are we gonna squeak in under the wire before that price increase?
Yeah.
Cool. That was the first question. Second question is, if the chillers come before the compressors and vice versa, is there any benefit? Because I'm assuming we need, crane kind of equipment for both of those
Just the
things?
cooling tower.
Okay, so it's like, does it make sense to wait and do them all together so that we're not paying for extra cranes, but okay.
No, in the memo, I mentioned that part of Dutton or part of the parking lot would have to be blocked off. That's just for the cooling towers, that's all.
Okay,
The chillers are gonna be, they actually come into our maintenance shop down a ramp and into either side of the building.
not my area of expertise. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Anything else? All right, gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, we'll, take care of. All right, we're on to item 3, revisions to policy 3.001, material selection.
Okay, so Greg and I were talking, thought it might be a good opportunity to kind of review some of these policies that we haven't looked at in a little bit. Material selection is one of those. I'm not bringing any changes to this policy tonight. I just wanted to put it in front of everybody to start a conversation about it and make sure that everyone is aware of, what's in that policy, how it works, and if you have any suggestions or things for me to take back to the staff to bring back a draft or something, we have to do that. Our collections services manager was out last week. Otherwise, I would have maybe brought you some changes, but we felt that it'd be important to get in front of you guys first to start the conversation and see what changes we figure out.
Gotcha.
I had a suggestion on the first sentence of the second paragraph under 3.001, where we say things could be offensive, shocking, or boring. I think that's a little TMI. And it could be better stated in the form of, in its efforts to support our values for diversity and inclusion and achieve the strategic objective of an environment for the open exchange of differing ideas and points of view, which is taken directly from the strategic plan. The Board of Library Trustees permits collection of a broad range of material, period. The board appreciates that materials may be received differently by different audiences. And then continue nevertheless.
Everything we said there, right? So this is one of the policies, I think, kind of take a look at, make sure that everything makes sense as far as what we think we're supposed to be doing, and if we're choosing material the right way. As I said, strategic plan, I'm venturing into an area here I really don't know a lot about. I leave it mostly the expert, but we just want to make sure that we've got all the wording, correct. And that there's nothing that's really out there. So just kind of read it over and at the board meeting, if you have anything else to kind of bring it up, we'll talk about it more then. Does that make sense? Is that okay? All right. Okay. Let's go on to item 4, revision to policy 5.001 hours of service.
Okay, so bringing this policy just for a couple minor changes. First of all, we had the main library hours in this policy, but we didn't have makerspace for senior center reading room. So one change is to add those two things in. And then another change is in the second last sentence of the policy. Libraries closed on those holidays approved annually by the Board of Library Trustees. The library administration may adjust hours for certain special circumstances or due to an emergency. So that is a change that I'm suggesting. So when we have one-off special events or something like that, I don't need to bring a proposal to the board to say extend our hours by an hour or close a little early for a special event or something. And one of those examples will follow these policies in our item number 6. But if you recall, when we did the after party in the hub not that long ago, we wanted to stay open an hour later, so that necessitated a board action based on our current policy. And so I'm suggesting that for those small special circumstances.
Yeah.
So that requires a board action for you to stay open an extra hour.
Yeah, it's not called out in here and the hours are board approved, so in order for,
All right, we'll deal with
Maybe-
that on another day.
maybe it's not, I mean, maybe I could make those changes, maybe with a conversation with Greg, but I feel like if you look at the policy, it doesn't explicitly say that. And so I would rather have it explicitly said in there than.
Again, I can't say it more strongly. I think the maker place hours need to be adjusted. I don't think that we're serving our community as best we could. And I think that we need to be open on Monday and Friday, or at least one of those. It's Pulaski Day. Now, our district closest to us is in school, but that doesn't mean that, St. Peter's is out today. And they're at school in our community. And I feel like, we've spent a lot of time and attention and money on the maker place, and we need to make sure that we're meeting the needs of all of our, residents. So I just really think that we need to look at that. I think that it's Monday or Friday, the very least one of those days.
With respect to the Fridays, have you done time studies? I mean, what is it about those days that you've elected to have the building
to keep
closed?
those up. It's a popular day for special events, and if you look at we received some strategic plan feedback already, and Friday evenings are less
Well-
likely for more people. Programs.
And that was if it's closed on Friday, then my assumption is that you're using it for events to.
Right, or rental.
Revenue for them, yeah, rental.
Right, so that's the thought. We have had a few special events and rentals on Fridays, and so having that flexibility to be able to do that, and that's something we want to continue to ramp up. And we think that that's really the prime opportunity for that space for Friday evenings. Mondays, I mean, I think it's very good point. And Dana and Diane are working with Chris to, evaluate that stuff. They're going to be at the board meeting later this month to talk about makerspace. And hours will be one of the things that we touch on. So definitely open to it.
Well, even going to the point that Andy just made, if it was Mondays that were federal or state holidays, then we know that these kids are gonna be looking for someplace to go, to capture them.
Yeah, I think that's a great point.
Well, first of all, let me just make sure I make a point here, because Amy sent me just a comment. It was essentially what you just said. My only comment is that I really think the makerspace should be open on Friday, talk to Mondays too, and close on Tuesdays and Wednesdays instead. it's a staffing issue, but I think it would meet AHML customer needs better, but you just said something there that I didn't think about. It's Fridays, you know, probably not a lot of people coming in, but special event
Right.
to be able to go there.
You know, I have to balance that all the time in my personal life as well with my business. And so, you know, maybe if we close, you know, we're open until 5 or whatever, like it's a shortened day so that you can still have those events. And I don't know what time or what kind of lead time, you know, if the event starts at 6 and hours, not enough time, I don't know. But, you know, maybe look at those kinds of things that it could be open, or that maybe there's special hours, you know, we know just, and we're gonna follow District 25 or whatever. And that when there's days off, we are gonna be open those days or. I don't know, just a thought.
Yeah, no, very good.
Yeah, I just had two thoughts. One is just kind of a common food for thought is that we've discussed, you know, originally the Maker Place, you know, was it for kids? And then we were thinking, you know, was it adults? And it's kind of morphing, and then the reevaluation of like, who is our target audience? And so kind of throwing that out there that, you know, is it just, you know, in the conversation to think like, and maybe that's what is being discussed, or, you know, who is the audience, and, you know, the events for the community and the possible revenue, bringing that in, or revenue stream could be important. So that's just, I guess, one thought. And then the second thing is, I mean, it does seem that just for families, or just that time, if someone does take off because of childcare, or if they have the day off work, with respect to the staff that also have to work on that holiday, but just having maybe the first Monday of a month, or just some way to have a compromise. And again, you guys are awesome at figuring all the time out. I recognize and respect your time study. But just that it would be, I mean, just some time to open with those days would be.
It's very difficult to educate the public when you're not consistent. So, and then they show up on a Monday, oh, we were open last Monday, but not this Monday. My recommendation is add staff and open at least on Monday, if not Friday. And then if you need to close on Friday for a special event, as you said, you know, we sometimes have that at Gilboa Library, and I go to the board and we close early, you know, 4 o'clock on Friday, you know, in order to have this special event. So, but I'd look into additional staff. It's gonna cost everyone, but, you know, if we feel it's worth it, then we'll budget for it.
Yeah, like I said, Dana and Diane and Chris they're evaluating everything, and including the service model and working with the staff here. To work in the places.
Well, and also if there needs to be time, well, although if it doesn't open till 11, you know, I mean, maintaining those machines, you know,
Right.
you know, I'm sure you have staff coming in before 11 o'clock, you know.
And we have staff coming in on the days we're closed as well.
Right,
Maintaining
and doing that, yeah, so you have to.
So we do have to have some downtime.
Right.
For sure.
I think to comment about the staff, we're typically underneath our FTEs for budget. So we've already probably got room in there.
Probably for this year.
Yeah, we probably have room already in there, so that's one thing to think about. Another thing I was thinking, and I think you just shot me down already, Carol, was the library, you know, it says here, you know, to your point, John, you know, the library administration, you know, may adjust hours, but I mean, you know, that doesn't have to come to us, you know, to open it. I was thinking, can we, you know, to Andy's point, you know, Pulaski Day. I should have known that it was Pulaski Day. But
You should have known.
no. Could that one sentence be one where we decide that, you know, for this particular holiday, if we're not open all the time on Mondays, that we open up on those Mondays? You know, we make, because I think that's broad enough that it allows you the opportunity to be able to do it. But where Carol, I think, just shot me down already is the consistency factor.
Right.
And he has a really valid, you know, that's a really valid point. It's something I struggle with too, because we're open 7 days a week during the summer, we're open during spring break, we're open over Christmas, and then somebody comes back like the following Tuesday, and they're like, what do you mean you're not here? You know? But during the school years, we close on Tuesday, Wednesday, those are the slowest days of the week. Are we still there? Yeah, we're getting, you know, the same thing, we're getting our other things done. You know, there's a balance there somewhere, so. but the consistency is important.
Yeah, we even see it with, even like Saturday and Sunday, having different hours at the main library, you know. We have people confused about which day we're open when, and we get feedback about that, and so it is tough, and when you're doing a rotating, like a monthly schedule or something like that. Could I ask that, Dana to chime in, if she'd like, she's remote tonight. So I don't know if you have anything that you want to share, you know.
Okay, yes, thanks. I just wanted to say that we had 105 people on Saturday, which is like our highest number ever on a day. And Sunday was quite busy as well. We did have some programs going on, so that added. So we are growing those numbers. So I don't want anyone to freak out that we're not meeting our heavy numbers. But I also want to point out, to Andy's point, we are doing Maker Place programs. They're called the Maker Place Takeover programs, starting actually this month on Mondays, and Trixie's there and she can correct me for the dates. I don't have them memorized, but we are doing 2 programs a month, I believe, for kids. But I just want to say that we also don't have the quite equipment that we have. This was always intended to be an adult space, is my understanding. I wasn't here for the origins, but we've noticed with toilets, sinks, chairs, tables, etc., are the not kid friendly. So we'd have to consider, if we really want to change our audience or expand that, we would have to purchase more furniture, which means storage, all those different mechanisms, and actually having classes for kids, which is a different way to teach kids in specific programs. So again, that would make staffing a little different. And the other thing I want to point out is the library is still open, and we do set a lot of our programming for when the schools are on, like when the schools are closed. And today, yeah, our public schools were in school, but for other holidays, etc., the library is open, and we do have a lot of programming for children. So it's not like they can't come to the library. It just would be at the main branch. Trixie, did you have a couple? Just for clarification's sake of when your programs are at the for the takeover dates? I'm sorry to put you on the spot.
We have a Maker Place takeover for 3rd through 5th graders the Monday of spring break. For us, it was actually preferred that Maker Place was closed just because having a lot of little kids moving through the space while other people are environment and use the space has been a little bit problematic in the past, just for noise levels or high ceilings. It's very loud in there. We are planning on having 1 program a month that is targeting different needs groups, so that we would be giving kids, tweens, teens, one. So that's our program this year. We'll see how it goes. We did have a program for younger kids that it was very challenging for them to use the city and our area, just because it was higher up and it's very high powered. So staff are having to use little ones in the watch.
Yeah, Dana, great questions and great observations. Yeah, the library is open on Mondays during the holidays. It's not essential that the Maker Place be that as well. But the point was is that this was an adult space, and I think we can certainly accommodate teenagers, high school kids, and all. But the other thought is that it would be redundant with what you're programming here in the main library. And so I don't see the wisdom of relocating staff, equipment and children to the Maker Place for a program that has been handled and done very well in the main library. I just can't follow that logic. But having said that, you know, looking at the opportunities for teens, high school kids and such, I think there needs to be a concerted effort at programming that will draw them in during the times that the Maker Place is open. And, you know, always pointing to the kitchen as being just a phenomenal success, and how we can build from the model that's been created there to the other areas within the Maker Place.
The question I've got to where Carol said before, you know, between Mondays and Fridays and additional staffing. Question I'd have is if we decided, when I say we, I'm not talking about the board, I'm talking about everybody, decided that we wanted to be open on Mondays and Fridays, what would it look like? And it's a hard question. I know you can't answer that right now, what would that look like if we actually did that? What kind of programs could we do that maybe that we're not having right now? What kind of whatever, opportunities are there that we're not having right now? My personal opinion, I don't know the rest of the board, I'm not speaking for the board, is that something I'd like to at least see what it looks like. Just some ingenuity there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And kind of to your point, like, yes, this was originally designed as sort of an adult space. But I think it's a little muddied or maybe not clear, like at what point when we say young children, I'm thinking like kindergarten and younger, but I don't know that that's your same criteria. Like what is considered young children? What are considered like, could there be a parent-child program that it would be okay for maybe like, I don't know, 4th grade and up or something like that, where they're a little bit more mature, they, they don't have to have 3 recesses during the week, the day kind of thing, where they might be able to sit a little longer or something. And I don't know, it's a line in the sand, right? One 5-year-old is gonna act different than the next 5-year-old. You might have one that can sit there and focus for 2 hours, and the other one has a 15-minute limit and they're done. But, and if we want to make it just adults, then is it, it's 18 and older, but we didn't set it up that way. We set it up that you could have, a parent waiver and all this kind of stuff. So, and I don't remember, I apologize, I don't remember what that age waiver was. Well, thank you. So that puts you in like middle school, right? So, maybe there's a little bit of like a parent-child kind of thing that dips into those, I don't know, 4th, 5th grade kind of thing, but otherwise,
Tracy, do you want to speak to some of the programs that you've already had over there?
And I will share that we are having a team update decorating in the kitchen this month. We've had several tweens of 4th through 6th grade programs in the kitchen there. We've had one art program that was for K-3, which is what we found to be just is too young and and I think it was disruptive to people who were they're dropping it into space. But I think that we are open to exploring other options. We have talked to Chef Brian about doing some knife skills class for teens as part of the culinary essentials there, and just adding that to the group. And we have talked a little bit about doing some caregiver child programming, probably younger than 4th grade, is what we find that 4th graders want to be teens, they want to be younger, they don't want to be there. So we are looking at it probably will be like a K-3 with a caregiver. I think that what I struggle with is that I know if we have a program here, we can is thinking about how many sessions we can offer with our staff resources equals.
well, that's the John point. Like, why move things over there just to say that we're having a program over there when you can accommodate 50 kids here and we could only accommodate 20 over there? So that makes sense logistically, financially, all of it. But we have this amazing space that has equipment there that we don't have here. So I wouldn't want to repeat what we're already doing. I just am, Greg was saying, the creativity of what.
Yeah, and we have a lot of staff working in this room. We have Kids World, we have programs, we have Makerspace, we have digital services. We have a lot of different people looking at this and finding different ways to pull different audiences in. And, as Trixie mentioned, we have all different age groups over there. So I feel like staff are really, trying a lot of different things, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't. And so, our manager in that department is fairly new, she's only been here a few months. And so she's really trying to get her feet on the ground too, to determine, kind of where we need to put our focus. And we've had some discussions. One of the areas that we feel is the greatest need is the culinary programs. We'll still fill those all the time. So they are working on, continuing to evaluate that and increase those number of classes even more than we've done. So, it is a progression. There's a lot of people involved and a lot of different minds working on it. I think they're doing a good job. And like I said, we're going to bring some info about the Makerspace back next at the board meeting. to have further discussion on it.
Thank you.
And then look into like what Monday and Friday would look like, right? Just give some type of high level idea.
So, my comment is
Yeah, I mean-
your place related, so.
Oh, one last thing on the maker plate or on that schedule.
Okay.
Senior Center Reading Room. Are you closed on Sunday?
Yes.
You might want to put that down there.
So my only comment on this, as far as like changing the policy, so that you don't get our stay up early, would be just to notify us if you are staying up late, just in case someone we're aware. So, okay.
Very good. I always thought hours would be a big discussion, but it always was one of them. Okay. Yeah. Okay, anything else? Okay. Let's move on to item 5, revisions to policy 7.014, photograph and video release.
Okay, so another policy to, kind of give it an update or a refresh, look at. Previously, or currently, I should say, the policy only really exists in that last paragraph that we have in the draft that you have, the 7.014. It talks about the library taking photographs and video of people. What we don't address in there is individuals coming in from the outside and recording. And so, what is legal, what are we going to allow? Filming in a public space is a First Amendment right. So that is allowed no matter what. It's when it could become disruptive through a violation of our code of conduct, and that's a behavior thing. It's not about recording. That's addressed in here, and or blocking library aisles, walkways, stairwells, doors, exits, that kind of stuff. The other thing we added in here is commercial recording. So with commercial recording, we can ask for advance notice because typically commercial recording, they're going to be using bigger equipment, lights, tripods, stuff that will interrupt normal services. So with that, we do address that in there as well. And then there's, we have gotten a question in the past about can a person record the proceedings of a library board meeting? And according to the Open Meetings Act, they certainly can. I don't know why they would now because we stream it on YouTube and it's on there, but we wanted to address that as well and point back to the Open Meetings Act that is legal and fair to do that. So we did update that last paragraph also to include live streaming by the library, social media, stuff like that. Any questions you guys have about this one?
What I really liked about this were, it was just like so just that last paragraph right now, and one sentence in here, however, taking photographs or videos is prohibited in some areas such as restroom areas for jury staff and areas for different nurses. We didn't have any of that in there before, so they're just clarified, some of those type of things.
Yeah, that's a good point, because legally, people can record in public space, but we are not legally bound to permit recording in staff areas or other private spaces. So we wanted to explicitly make that. And so our attorney has had eyes on this. I sent him a draft last week, just to kind of give it a once over. But if we change this up or whatever, I'll send it back to him for further review.
More kind of a nuance, are conference room considered public space, like a closed conference room is still considered?
Even like room rentals and stuff like that, like if somebody has a program in the Hendrickson room, that's really still supposed to be open
Yeah,
to the public.
so that, I get that, I guess I was just thinking, like if someone is in like a meeting room.
Now, if someone comes in there and is disrupting them, while they're trying to work, then it's going to happen.
Yeah. Okay, got it.
But if somebody walks by with a camera and films
That's
it,
what I was kind of thinking, like in those.
yeah, good question.
Anything else? All right. Susan, thank you very much on that. All right, item 6, special event late open request.
Okay, so last year we hosted a bake-off with School District 214 at the Makerspace. This was a bake-off with their students coming up, and I believe it was for a scholarship. Trixie, do you have details on this? And what the actual end goal was? Never mind. Oh, right. Yeah, they're involved. Yes. So, yeah, so we want to do that again this year. This year it's going to fall on a Thursday, however, last year it was on a Friday. So what we would like to do is do a late open for the Maker Place. The event is planned from 11 o'clock to about 2:30, and then we want to do cleanup, reset the space, and then by 3:30 open the public. So this is one of those instances where. Thank you for permission.
Out of curiosity, they're just gonna be using the kitchen
The kitchen and the flex space. So,
downstairs.
yeah, they packed the place pretty well last year, and they had judges, and it was kind of like the whole thing.
Right,
So it will be, because we were thinking maybe we could keep the space open and allow people to work while this is going on, but it'd be far too disruptive.
thank you.
Very good. Any more comments? All right, we are to the front other. One thing I just wanted to ask everybody, a thought. Discussion is talking about hours, is actually hours of this meeting. We used to have it at 7:30. And then a few years ago, we moved it down to 7 o'clock. Because it's obviously one of those situations where staff have to, help will be here too. Is there any thoughts on moving this even earlier, 6:30, 6 o'clock?
Bring supper.
Suffering.
The dinner meeting.
Kind of need to be on camera.
I don't usually get to eat dinner until after the
Yeah.
meeting, so.
Me neither.
It's true. Earlier. it is.
Yeah, I think just personally, as a mom, it's often a little frantic to make it here by 7, so having it early or wouldn't really
Okay.
be great for me.
Okay.
Ask me again in 5 years. It's right now.
I'm kind of with that. I mean, when we have it at 7:30, that actually gave me a chance to go home and have dinner with my family before I came here. As it is, I won't see them today.
Okay.
I don't want to see them, so I'm laughing. So the odd thing is that, in my next job, they moved the meeting up to 6:30. And for the reasons that, the staff had to hang around, which, part of it, but the other part of it, their meetings go 3 or 4 hours.
Oh,
And it's not because there's a lot of yammer, it's their
big
agendas
agendas.
are really dense. And so folks were staying till 11:15, so they moved it up to 6:30.
I get
But-
10:30.
Well, yeah, and for me, yeah, that's fine, but 7 is great.
Okay. All right, fair enough. Just want to bring it up. Point of
Thanks for
discussion.
asking.
Did you have something?
I have another, yes, I would like to introduce someone. Teresa Katsajanos is our new administrative assistant, assisting Janet. So you will probably receive emails from Teresa.
Yeah.
She'll be helping, yeah,
Yeah, yes.
she'll be helping out with meetings, future stuff like that. So just wanted to meet Teresa.
All right, anybody else?
But as I was coming to the meeting tonight, I was in the elevator. And it's always annoyed me that the door close button does absolutely nothing. And I happened to be in the elevator with someone else who actually mentioned that and was complaining about it. And then we were looking at the doors themselves and they look like, I don't know if somebody cleaned them with something that was wrong, but they are kind of shabby looking. And that's not usually the way that we look around here. And I had never really stopped to think about it, but just, I don't know, can we polish it or something?
That is, yeah, it's actually something we were just having a conversation a couple months ago and talking about redoing the interiors of the elevators, updating the electronics. Stuff
They
like
look a
that.
little
So
dated.
it is
and
on,
responsive and
yeah, it is on our plan.
Park districts didn't work.
Oh, they start with.
Anything else? All right, how about a motion for
I
adjournment?
move that we adjourn.
second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Nay, and that is passed, and we are done. Thank y'all. Thank y'all, hoping to land last week. I get the roll over.